So, yeah. Let's go do some things while I got time. Let's... Actually, no. No, it is Lalafell. We have to go there in order to get some of the quests done. There's a couple of them that I'm really interested that technically I should be doing before anything else. That's one. Yeah. Shadow Past. Shadow Pass. Ah, Maserano. You couldn't have appeared at a better time. You see, while I patrolling the city, I chanced to sight a void set. Uh-oh. I immediately chased it down with the intent of eliminating it, but something about it struck me as odd. For one, it made no move to defend itself, but simply sat there, jiggling. Which is why, against my better judgment, I decided to capture it instead. Having traveled to the void, I dare say you have considerable knowledge of its denizens. If you have a moment, might I trouble you for your opinion on the creature's unusual behavior? I'm truly grateful. Now, if you would follow me, the creature is held in the hall of the Radiant Host. This thing. Oh, I have to go all the way up there. Well, I'm just gonna take the portal. Actually, and once I take this portal, I'm actually gonna get me a water real quick. I forgot to do that. Alright. Alright, let's do this. There he is! Get him! Here it is. Surprisingly docile, even when I captured it. And there has been no reports of attacks prior to that. Even so, it's the nature of void set to prey on people for their ether. Perhaps it bides its time, waiting to carry out some manner of scheme. You! I remember you! Yes, you were at Trolia. Please, you must help me. You were at the castle? Indeed, I was, but I have since fled to here. I understand the mortal tongue well enough, but I don't have a mouth to produce the sounds. It's been a struggle to convey my thoughts. But not anymore, you can help me. Yes, you can. You can converse with the void set? Amazing. Could you ask me why I came here? When you and yours stormed the castle, I was caught up in the fighting and died. In time I returned, but I tired of fighting, so I fled using the gate to your world. Having just been reborn, however, my essence hasn't fully bonded together yet. And so, when I emerged from the gate, as several it was as several sundered selves. Frightened and confused, they scattered, following their trail led me here. My diminutive size allowing me to remain largely unseen. But by the same token, I could do little more than sneak around. Each of us was weak and powerless. That's why we consumed one another in the first place. Together we were strong. I want you to help me find all of these so that I can be whole again. What did you intend to do in this world? Why I live here, of course, I've always wanted to. We still remember the past, you see. Still remember when we were mortals. We long to have that life again, but we need your help starting by reuniting us. We won't try to devour anyone even when we're whole, I swear. You wish to learn more about the Void, yes? There is much we can teach you about those who rule its domains, about their past. Find the others, and they'll tell you all they know. No eating, no tricks. Do we have a bargain? I'm taking it with me. So it crossed over to our world to escape conflict, and now it searches for the rest of itself. I understand Void Set are quite reliable when it comes to fulfilling a pact, and I dare say having one as an ally would benefit our research into their world. Very well, if you would be so kind to search for its kin. I will consult my superiors on how the best to deal with them. By that, I take it we have a bargain. Good, good. I sense 4 others close by. When you find them, you need only point them in this direction. Once they sense my presence, I can guide them the rest of the way. What's that? I asked you to search for me in exchange for knowledge about powerful Void Set? I was still wanting to see this and that. I suppose a deal is a deal. Those men over there are soldiers, are they not? We used to have soldiers in our world too. There were lots of them during the Contra Memoria. Ah, back from the Weaver's wording, are you? I hear you fought well against the Void Set that slipped through. Come now, I merely did my duty. Haven't we all sworn to protect our nation no matter the cost? Protect our nation. How familiar those words. Where was it that I heard them? Ah yes, it was the early days of the Contra Memoria. The enemy had conjured a terrible eidolon that laid siege to a fortress. The garrison was made up of ordinary soldiers, men and women with no remarkable abilities, but led by their valiant commander. They fought bravely and desperately. They had to last until the Memoria arrived, the commander told them. Needed to hold out no matter the cost. A Memoria did eventually arrive, but not soon enough for the soldiers. They all fell. Having struck down the Eidolon, the Memoria and his servant searched the castle for survivors. They found only the dead. But just when they had given up all hope, a faint groaning reaches their ears. They rushed over to the sound, It cleared away debris. To find a lone survivor, the garrison commander. Instead of joy, however, the sight of the man filled them with anger. Your soldiers are slaughtered to a man, yet there are barely a scratch on you. What's the meaning of this? The Eidolon was savage but mindless. It was a simple thing to hide myself beneath fallen debris. You hid like a coward. Hide? As commander, you had a duty to your men. You were supposed to put their lives before your own. Spare me. My duty was to ensure the fortress stood, and it did. Besides, my death would have achieved nothing. Honor be damned. No, I swore to protect our nation, and to do that, I must live. It isn't my fate to fall here. It isn't your fate, you say? Is he merely unconscious? Come, let us bury the soldiers and their commander with them. Fate shall decide what becomes of him, whether he lives or dies. Very well, my lord. Funeral rites were later held for the fallen, but solemn tears quickly gave way to horror screams as a body emerged from the earth. Ah, that must be what's his name? What was his name? Skazagum? I can't die. I must live. The man is said to have declared. The people thought him a demon, a disheveled horror, muttering curses as he wandered off the regions unknown. Scarone, they called him, a name befitting his newfound grisly visage, a name befitting a monster. And there's the story about the first one. We thought we buried him deep, but a mortal's desire to live is not to be underestimated. You're immortal, so I expect you understand that desire. Well, that concludes my tale. I had best rejoin myself, if you'll excuse me. Yeah. So, apparently... Oh, there's 4 of them. Yeah, this is kind of why I wanted to do this quest first. Because this quest line tells you about the 4 fiends that we'll be facing. Well, we've already defeated 2 of them, but there he is. He's just sitting on a box, just casually just sitting here. Ah, what a refreshing breeze. I'm to return to the others? Ah, they should come here. No, you go to them. Would you look at this beauty? Boundless sky. Mortals take to the air from here. Do they not? Would that I had wings to soar among the clouds myself. Not right now, though. But we void set are not wont to roam, you see. The mightiest among us carve out domains, while the rest labor to stay in their good graces. Now the master of a domain solemn ventures outside, for it is in one's territory that one is strongest. For some, however, such confinement proved trying, as was the case for a certain void set I knew. I speak of the free-spirited terror Barbaricia. When she first established her domain, she whirled away the days, waiting for her minions to bring her prey. The ether amassed from these offerings were devoted to the singular pleasure of caring for her silky flowing locks, but the resources of her domain were not without its limits. It was only when none remained to oppose her that she realized she was a prisoner in her own domain, and unless she broke free, she would inadvertently wither away alone. Hey, look, it was in the corner. Not knowing what to do, she had fallen into the depths of despair, and the hands of salvation came to pull her out. At this rate, my precious hair will frizzle and fray, had I only the strength to leave my domain. If strength is your desire, that is easily granted. Should have said freedom. Who are you? Powers. And what will you do with it? What is it you desire? What I desire is you would move your very domain? Impressive. That I can do everything. What have you done to me? I granted you ether, nothing more. It was your will that made it possible. My will. Even so, no matter where you should go, there is naught but darkness. What could your destination possibly be? Destination? I have no need for such. I wish but to be free like the wind. In a world that has met its end, rare indeed is the soul who desires freedom so ardently that she could will her very domain to move. Recognizing this quality, the knight would grant her more power and a place to command his mighty army. A story worthy of our bargain. I trust I might have had more to tell, but had I not fallen off her domain. It seems you mortals also have fineness for flying. I'd certainly like to try riding one of those airships of yours. But perhaps another time. My other selves will be a blubbering mess if I don't hurry and rejoin them. Wow. Um. So, so this is where mortals consume ether. Well, not really. Dreading loneliness more than hunger? How very likely. If you don't mind, though, I'd like to observe the mortals a while longer. The food here is simply sublime. Well, I feel stronger with every bite, as if the Morak themselves were granting me their blessing. The food is tasty, that's true enough, but no food is so sublime as to be a substitute for proper training, my friend. Stronger with every bite, every feed. For my part of the bargain, I will tell you about how we voids have become strong. Simply put, it depends on the quality and quantity of ether we harbor. When the world was consumed by darkness, the heroes known as Memorites arose as powerful Zoidsets. In contrast, the vast majority of mortals, powerless and unremarkable as they were, became ordinary Voidsets like me. There were exceptions, of course, but one in particular I'll never forget. Scarlone. Scarlone. Never had I seen a Voidset so craven. And when pushed to the brink of starvation, he would prey on those weaker than himself. He substated on scant leavings and lived in constant fear and hunger. In the face of danger, a Voidset stronger than himself, fleeing was the only option, but a day came when he found his way barred. How pitiful. Overwhelming ether. Who is this? You fled instead of facing your foe. Why? I am too weak. Why else? I would have been devoured. So you had enough. So had you enough strength, you would have stood your ground? Very well then. What's happening? Yes, I feel it. The power is swelling within me. Lo, your foe returns. A death gaze? What have you done to me? I granted you but a sliver of ether. 'Twas the power you already possessed that you defeated your foe. I possessed such power? Fear had clouded your eyes, blinded you to the strength you had attained feeding on the weak. If you would free yourself from fear and join me, you shall have a greater cause to live for and know true power. Curious how in a world without death, the fear of it could be the key to great strength. The knight recognized the void's sense potential, and thus did he take him into his service. So that was the commander that changed into a void set. Determined as he is to live, it wouldn't surprise me if he were still somewhere out there. Had he been more And he'd be even more powerful now, I expect. All the devouring he would have done since, unlike your world, eating exact actually makes you stronger in ours. Well, I must be going now. The others are waiting. I don't think he knows that we beat him. We beat Skylar. We turned him into a crystal. That reminds me, I need to be a monk now. If I'm doing side quests. My other self grows lonely, you say. My apologies. It was my intent to seek out the others. But I was distracted by the bickering pair of mortals yonder. My goodness. But there's been some colorful language. What should I have, babe? The hell's with your father? You shouldn't need his permission to leave the goddamn house. Please mind your language. What would father say if he were to hear you? It's always father this, father that with you. I'm sick of it. You're your own woman now. Bloody act like one for a change. Colorful language, yes. But not for the girl, no. Though, oh no, she appears to be quite well bred. What's that supposed to mean, huh? I just hope she's happier than a girl I knew long, long ago. Is this it? Oh, this is it. That girl was born into a family of thugs who suddenly found themselves nobility. She was raised as a noblewoman and had servants tending to her every need, but in the end, she was merely a beautiful bird kept in a gilded cage. Wanting her to be a proper lady, her parents presided over all aspects of her life. They decided everything for her, telling her what to do, what to say and do. Chafing for the feathers of her restrictive life, she solicited her handmaid's aid and stole outside Diana. Or she enjoyed a moment of bliss unbeknownst to her parents, or so she thought. It was not long before her father dragged her back to her room, barring the door and windows, denying her even the sip of pleasure of an afternoon's breeze. Even a bird in a cage would chirp freely, but she wasn't even suffered to give voice to her desires. But she wouldn't be deterred. Having once tasted such freedom, she yearned for more, and one day she succeeded in sneaking out of the manor a second time. It's raining. You're late. I was beginning to think you wouldn't come. If you're expecting your friends, I'm afraid they're not coming. What do you mean they're not coming? I had known that some miscreants were carving in these parts, but to think they dare to consult with my daughter? Well, you needn't worry about them, though. They're food for the fishes now. Judith's father, why must you torment me so? You're a means to our family to gain influence. I won't have you sullying yourself with riffraff. Oh, you're just a tool. Why? You will not leave your chambers save for my permission, nor will you disobey me again. If you do so, there will be severe consequences. Am I understood? I said, am I understood? To hell. What did you... Whoa. I heard stories about this scene, but jeez. Oh, to think that it could be so exhilarating to speak my mind, to do as I please. No more living in a cage. From this moment on, I am free, free as the wind. The young woman struck out on her own and in her travels discovered her true calling. Not in the halls of lords and ladies, but on the battlefield. She became a force of nature, famed for her striking beauty which belied a terrible savagery. And with this new life, she also claimed a new name, Barbaricia. Indeed, she found her freedom, but but did she also find her happiness? I wonder. I suppose I'll never know. Nor does it matter, for the world that once was is no more. But my goodness. Oh, but goodness me, I had better rejoin the others. The last of the void set. Time to head back to the hall, reigning host. Jeez. Like I said, I had heard rumors about, like, I knew this storyline would talk about their past and stuff, and they said Barbaricia was dark, but jeez. That thing was just sticking out of his head at the end, by the end. And she walked away like nothing happened, really. Oh, it was just a casual thing to say. Thank you so much for finding me. I hope the knowledge I had to share was worthy of your... More than worthy, I'd say. They told me about Scarone and Barbaricia. My other subs live quite disparate lives, both as mortals and void sent. Though I suppose it is rather fortuitous that they cross paths with such powerful Zoidsen. But more importantly, what they could offer was worthy of our bargain. For that I am glad. All that remains now is for us to rejoin and become whole again. Huh? Is this not all of me? Uh-oh. There can be no other explanation. There's still more of me out there somewhere. But I don't sense them. Where could they have gone? To me, there's more than wondering about. By the sisters. At the very least, if what you say is true, they pose no threat to the people. Until the others can be found, we will keep these 5 under our care. Should I sense the others nearby, I hope we can count on you to find them too. Yeah, we'll probably get this scene. This cutscene will probably be updated. Like we'll get another cutscene about them, about the other, another quest about the other what we call it. There's 4 of them. Wait, tank it. Oh, I haven't been able to do it yet. Okay. I think I wanted to do all of them at once. Because I can do the Black Mage. Okay, I kind of need to upgrade my Black Mage, don't I? No, maybe not. I mean, I got like 538. Yeah, I might have to. Yeah. So it's this one that needs physical ranged, which is the machinist, and a healer, which would be the witch with art. Alright, there's one more quest that I wanted to try and find. I didn't see it anywhere, sadly. Not that one. Huh. Where's the one for Omega? God, I haven't heard this song in a long time. Based on Omnicron? Perhaps it's based on Omnicron. No, that's not it. Golemon? No? That's not down there. What's this still? One place. Labyrinthine? No, Old Chargian. There it is. A heartless hypothesis. A heartless hypothesis. That's blown the cobwebs away. Time to return to work. This is me. Look who it is. How incredulous that I would run into you of all people. I was the part of the team which designed the Ragnarok, you see, and we've recently begun the process of combing through the vessel's flight log data. The primary objective of your journey to Ultima Thule was to save our star and countless others, of course, but it also provided us with an invaluable trove of information, records of places and events we could only dream of. Your safe return gave us much to be thankful for. As it so happens, one of the things we pulled from the log was a transmission of unknown origin, something the ship must have intercepted during its flight. We believe it to be an audio message, but even our most knowledgeable scholars have been unable to decipher its content. Professor Ruru Shra included. For a while there, it seemed we must accept defeat, but today may be the day that we finally solve the mystery. If you were so inclined, would you care to come along to Tadmazian? It seems fitting to have one of the Ragnarok's original passengers present to hear history being made. Yup, no, you can come along. Soaring Profits. There's another one? One thing at a time. One thing at a time. We picked this quest, we gotta do it. We're committing. Wait, what is this quest? Hang on. Oh, is this? I think I know what this is. I shall do as much before shall not command it and compile or research before sending the paperwork on matters he's supposed to. Ronald, may I have a moment? If you would be so inclined, I would like to hear the story of your battles in Abyssios and Tartarus. While I have no difficulty producing reports for the firm, the general summation of events, I could use some help with the finer details for the record, you know? For the record, you say, come now, be honest and admit it's to sate your own curiosity. I've seen the tomes you've left scattered around the laboratory bestiaries of creatures both real and imagined. I will not, and I dare say should not, deny an intellectual stake in the matter, but surely Ron will understand that a thorough recording will help on its research as well. Now then, whenever you're ready. This is how you unlock Savage for, what you call it. Fascinating. As you say, the savage creation you encountered in Abyssios bears more than a few similarities to the Carbuncle. Could it be that the arcane entities we know now had their origins in ancient times? Just as curious as your story of the Keyboard who was melded with a tree of legend. Where do the limits of the Himadero's creation process lie? I wonder, and how do such creatures even survive once melded? As expected, you cannot help yourself from asking even more questions. What perhaps would such knowledge serve? Oh, Rosella, one day you too shall develop the keen instincts of a researcher. Then you shall understand that it is impossible not to wonder once the spark of imagination has been struck. Ronald's stories have already set several theories stirring in my mind. I even feel more bubbling just under the surface. Take Hepburn, for example. It would not be a great leap to assume that he studied at length the regenerative and death-defying properties of the phoenix, and that is just the tip of the proverbial berg. You are free to exercise your imagination all you like, but need I remind you, reports are meant to be submitted to Master Fauchenar. Self, I implore you to exercise restraint. Professor had to have encouraged me, you know. Oh. He thrives on theory and his own imagination, but I understand your point, Leslie. If I were to submit such a report to Master Falstaff, I would soon therefore be forced to write a formal apology. It's more open to wild theories. That very well may be. An academic does not achieve the station he has without a curiosity as to see itself. Now I should set ink to pen and let the wonder of theory guide my hand. Within reason, of course. And yet, I cannot help but dream even larger. There are no bounds to what the mind can imagine, but there are. Let us both strive to find them, Ronald. No, I knew it. I figured this was Pat. That's what this was. So now Savage of 5 to 8 Abyssios is unlocked. Pretty much. But that's not why we're here. Okay? That is definitely not why we're here. We are here because we're here for the story. There you are. This is where we met. Where to meet the engineers from Gonald Ironworks, who I am told potentially hold the key to unlocking our mystery transmission. It should be along any moment. Sorry we're late. We had trouble finding the right... Gods, is that you, Ronald? Hey! Yes, the man himself. I ran into him at the harbor and thought if anyone deserved to hear the message deciphered, it was Ron Stoppable. No argument here, but bugger me. You don't have a knack for being in the right place at the right time. This actually has more to do with you than you might think, so please do stick around. Shall we pick up from where we left off then? As I was saying, we think this transmission the Ragnarok intercepted is a message of some kind, albeit in the language entirely alien to our ears. Alien being the operative word here, considering we received the message out of in the great expanse. Its origin is likely some distant star. Fortunately, our list of off-world allies is presently rather short. Thus, we were resigned to the fact that the meaning behind the message would remain beyond our understanding. One of my colleagues, however, refused to give up. She remembered the Ironworks engineers who had been so helpful in the construction of the Ragnarok, and turned to them for insight for our seemingly impossible problem. Do you know what Reg said when he heard what was going on? We should have Omega listen to it. I bet it can tell us what the message means. Not the Omega you beat in the Rift, of course. He's talking about the toy that trottles around with Alpha, the little model we made. We originally designed it to follow a chosen target, and not much else. But I've seen it act in ways that, well, it's like it has a mind of its own. Then I got to thinking about those documents you lot sent the chief, the full report on the final days. In the past, in the part about Omega's civilization, it said their people discovered how to convert the mind into data and store it outside the body. Timing being what it was, I wonder if Omega didn't somehow transfer its consciousness into our model before we put it into the real one. Hey! So in an effort to get to the bottom of that, as well as take a crack at this indecipherable message, we decided to make some modifications. With the help from Labrieto's technicians, we upgraded our toy Omega with a fully functional vocalization module. You're saying it can talk? We played the transmission for Omega, and I think it's ready to share. Are you in there, Omega? Hello? Hello, your greeting is a standard method for initiate communication, but in this case, it was imperative that you first establish my true identity. Without confirming, I am Omega. Any subsequent interaction must allow for the probability that you are wasting time addressing a mere toy. So it is him. Prediction. You will formulate several misconceptions. These I shall permanently dismiss based on the following facts. 1. Vocalization module aside, this casting remains unmodified from the design constructed by the engineers Biggs and Wiggs. I elevate its combat capabilities to be on par with a mortal infant. Oh my god. 2. The mechanism which allowed me to perform an emergency transfer of my conscience was installed in my previous body. With the destruction of that body, I am rendered incapable of replicating as such a feat. Should this current material form be destroyed or cease to function, all cognitive awareness or presence I possess will also be lost. In other words, if he's destroyed, he dies completely. Conclusion. I present no threat to you or your star, nor do my projections indicate the necessity to inflict harm. In the fraction of the moment before my annihilation in the rift, I re-examine my directives. If I am to fulfill my purpose as an evolving construct, I must continue my journey for improvement. For as long as I exist, I must acquire this heart of yours, the strength of soul. And there you have it. And it's not wrong about its combat capabilities. It'd be more likely to damage itself than the thing it was trying to attack. Well, let's not forget the reason we brought you here in the first place. But what about the transmission they played for you? Can you recognize the language? I've heard it. It was transmitted in Pan-Galactic Basic. Pan-Galactic Basic? Basic. A common language in comparatively extensive niches throughout the worlds we have conquered. Which means you can finally tell us what the message said. That is a language you understand, yes? I understand it perfectly. I am fluent in over 6 million distant dialectal codings. My cooperation in this matter, however, is conditional. Elaboration. Your chief Sid utilizes the floor as part of his unorthodox filing system, which allowed me to scan the report on the final days. I am aware that my home star, the one you called Alphatron, was obliterated in the aftermath of Sir Metron's meetings. The existence of Dynamis has not previously factored into my projections, but I now comprehend the concept in theory. What fails to compute is why the Omnicrons were not immune to its effects. Dynamis should have no influence on a race which possesses no heart. And yet Sir expressed to Metron a desire to cease existing. Illogical. I must pursue this analogy further. Until the full equation becomes clear to me, I must analyze all the elements of the final days and deepen my understanding of the heart's intangible properties. To expedite this process, I require an external interpretation of those sections of the report which continue to produce errors in my calculations. I request the assistance of Ron Stoppable, as one who experienced the ravages of ultimate despair in multiple fronts, and displayed immeasurable heart in engineering my defeat. He is the optimal choice to fulfill this role. So we either agree to your questions, or you tell us nothing. I'm sorry to put you on in a spot like this, Ronald. If you have the time and the patience to spare, we'd be grateful if you could humor the toy's demands. As Alpha dozed off, I suppose the subject was a bit technical. Rouse yourself, Alpha. You must listen to and consider these matters, even as I must. Why don't you make a trip out of it? You know, actually visit the places that has the things Omega want to ask about. That'll make explaining stuff easier for one, and also help keep Alpha awake and alert. Alright, where are we going? first, Omega. See if you've chosen the mutually beneficial option. Logical. Setting aside the matter of Sir, there are 3 elements of the report on which I desire clarification. The first of these concerns the progression of the final days in Razahan. I recognize no pattern in those who succumbed to the transformation and those who did not. That's a bit of a trick if you wanted to chat with the locals, but we lend you an airship. We did not require such outmoded technology. Ronald's transportation spell is the most effective option for long-distance travel. This chassis is a model, essentially a toy. In Alpha, despite his organic composition, is indistinguishable from a stuffed doll. Conclusion: we qualify as material possessions. Pick us up, and you can teleport the 3 of us to our destination. Just teleport, you know. Are you sure this is gonna work? Sensors indicate we have arrived at Razahan. Objective: identify factors for resistance to involuntary transformation. Hypothesis: unauthored survivors of the final days will display significant strength of heart. Confirming this theory will require the cooperation of 5 subjects. Where is the ward designated for residential hibernation? Understood. Comma. Set as our sub-destination. Please take the lead and select the subjects. We're going to do it over here. Okay, now they're accompanying me. Okay. You know, there are some places you can go. Oh. Don't I know you? Yes, after the beats were taken care of, you told me to join everyone in the square. Thanks to you, I was there when Vitra gave his speech, and I found out who the Vashtaran really was. It is a shame we don't get to play like we used to, but Mama says Vitra has been busy putting the city back in order. Maybe I can work for him one day, when I'm a man grown. Vitra? Mitsugomar's offspring? Yes, and this child wishes to put himself into Worm's command, that he might make his own contribution to society. A pattern emerges. I predict that the Hanish survivors are those who had ingested Vitra's blood and became his draconic minions? No. The dragons were no match for his civilization's might. Their combat capabilities were not to be underestimated. It's unlikely they would experience emotions of dread and uncertainty as exhibited by lesser beings in time of undue stress. Dragons? I'm not a dragon. I never ingested anyone's blood. Either. You're not a Vitra's horde? So you possess no hidden means to fight off the beast? What of fear then? Were you frightened? Yes, I was frightened. I just hid and hoped that it wouldn't find me. At least until he told me it was safe to come out. Yeah, they're not. Oh, look, and you're the one who came to ask me questions about Hazley. I'm glad to see you're looking well after all that unpleasantness. I remember the burning skies and hearing the screams, but truth be told, I'm still confused as to what actually happened. I only know it wasn't unusual for entire families to go missing. Many of my neighbors' houses lie empty even now. Kazal's place is one of them. He had no close relatives to speak of. And I heard that it was members of the custodium who came to remove his belongings. What a terrible thing to have to do. Terrible. Was recorded in the report, clearing out his domicile and readying it for a new habitation seems an appropriate course. Dear me, what a clever little contraption. But of course I'm not against making use of his headquarters. His quarters, that would be wasteful. It's simply that Kazal was always such a vigorous person. All that passion, all those dreams suddenly gone. I feel the same sorrow for everyone who was lost. Seeing the remnants of those vibrant lives packed away in boxes, that is what I mean by terrible. Are you Whoa. Are you a traveler? Please. If you have a moment, I could use an outsider's perspective. You see, I was one of those who sought to escape the madness, plunging the world by fleeing to the moon. Not that we ever went, in the end. So here I am, recently returned from Charlian, except new things are strange. Between my sister and I, since she chose to stay and I chose to leave. I asked her to help me find work and she just suggests I look somewhere that isn't that near. As if I wanted to abandon my home. It makes me so angry. Your point is unclear. You elected to locate to the star's satellite. Thus your relative now perceives you in a negative light. Your sibling's judgment is in error, based on the information made available. Citizens, your decision to withdraw to the moon was both logical and correct. Conversely, the decision to remain in Razapon, despite the low probability of survival, defies explanation. Perhaps the reasoning pathways are faulty. That's right. I'm not quite sure what you're saying, but I'm right, aren't I? Or I'd like to think the problem is I understand why my sister feels this way. I almost decided against going myself. Even then, I wasn't sure that leaving behind everything I loved was the right choice. But the way it all turned out, Ronald, I require a moment to process this input. Let us move apart and discuss our findings. Processing data. I authored an optimal analysis of each subject's testimony, yet each time their response conflicted with my assessment. Without identifying the root cause of this conflict, I will be unable to properly define what constitutes strength of heart. Lies in the conflict. An interesting observation, it is possible my base criteria is an error. In which case, it is imperative that I continue this learning process and repair any fundamental misconceptions. I wish to interact with an individual who endured similar circumstances to Kazal prior to his transformation. Are you acquainted with any local merchants who had dealings with him? Quite a few. Danaba Dija Baha of Ravua Fibers acknowledged. Sub-destination set. Yeah. I like that fact that they fell with me. Well, look who it is. I must thank you again for your help in moving our textiles. Recovering from those tragic events have been difficult, of course. But with everyone pulling together, we managed to get things back up and running. I come with questions related to that tragedy, specifically your survival of the final days. Although you are similar to Kazal in many respects, he succumbed to the transformation you did not. Why? What is the critical difference between you and him? What? I'm sure I don't know. I'm not especially brave or courageous, if that's what you're asking. Perhaps being focused on protecting our workshop kept me from spinning into panic. Still, I imagine Kazal would have been feeling the same sense of responsibility. Perhaps the weight of it all is what invited his demise. You were of the same mind, resolved of the same purpose, yet your strength of heart, of spirit was not equal. That merely elevating the individual was its dipper. Some other unforeseen factor must be involved. Not to interrupt these deep philosophical musings, but do you think I could ask you a small favor? There's a man by the name of Nash Van who's been helping us out here while he gets back on his feet. I have a feeling he'd benefit from speaking with you. Leave by the Eastern exit, and you should find him just outside organizing some new inventory. Hey, Numax. That's all orders accounted for, and everything looks to be of good quality. Kamala will be pleased. You were with the Scions. You were there. Hey, isn't this... Yes, I'm sure of it. I'll never forget that day. You and your friends helped us escape when people began changing into beasts. My own son, he was afflicted. Then that huge monstrosity loomed right over him and... Oh, this is the father. This is the... He's the one with the kid that transformed and then got crushed afterwards by another monster. I remember my heart turning to ice, freezing in place. The satrap came to my aid, but then he too was gone. Yeah. Yeah. The memories run together in my mind, like flashes from a nightmare. Only the words of your comrade still ring clear. I repeated them over and over like a mantra as I fled for my life. You must run for their sake and your own. It all seemed so surreal. which was probably what saved me from the transformation. The truth of it didn't begin to sink in until the worst of it was over. I have not the words to describe how I felt then. The sorrow, the overwhelming sense of hopelessness. I may still be wallowing in the misery of not for my old friend, uh, Dijabaha. I lost my will to work, and he encouraged me with kind words and odd jobs. Now somehow I live again. I am thankful to him, to the courageous Ahiwan, and to you. If you see your comrades, please tell them no. Please let them know their efforts were not in vain. Don't ruin the moment. Don't ruin it. You said you lost your will to work. This signifies a session of efforts to maintain basic life functions, yes? What changed to extract you from that stagnation? An offer of work for indigenous should mean little to one without the desire to accept it. Was it some matter of moral instinct? A primal need for survival and to survive and thrive? Instinct? No. It wasn't that. If anything, my instincts were telling me to lay down and welcome an end to the pain. This is M Walker. This is post M Walker. Every day I think of my boy's final moments. I think of how scared he must have been, how it must have hurt, and I want to scream my throat raw. The satrap too still haunts my dreams. I see him being swallowed whole and jolted awake, and a cold sweat. Yeah, I'm all the way up to the point of being ready for the next patch that's coming out in 2 weeks. So if you're still in Heaven Words, this is all spoilers. I looked up and saw that. But something changed when... Oh my goodness, these names. Help. We're gonna call him Jen. Jen came to me. I looked up and saw that even without my son and Adrian, the world around me continued to turn. And because that fact grieved me so, I knew it fell to me to live on and remember them. Strange, isn't it? What drives me to rise in the morning is the very sorrow which once crippled me. Now I really must return to my work. To lose this job after everything I just said would be a poor jest indeed. May the sisters keep you well. Sorrow, the emotion generated by mortals when their ideals fail to materialize. This I have observed. Yet when I listen to how natural sorrow served to rescue him from near fatal disposition, his logic eludes me. Am I incapable of perceiving the full measure of the heart's properties? My best projections failed to predict our subjects' responses, and despite their almost equal occupational and mental parameters, Jin and Kazan exhibited different reactions to the dynamis effect. I am no closer to recognizing the pattern of the involuntary transformations in your inferior, imperial mortal spirits confound me as much, if not more, than they did before. Have you considered that there is a pattern to the people's action? The heart of others, or ever shrouded in mysteries? Perhaps it's time we move to the next element you want to declare. Have you considered that there is no pattern? That there is no pattern to the people of... The hearts of others were ever shrouded in mystery. Everyone's heart is different. Even to you? This matter is more complicated than I initially calculated. If those possessed of heart cannot fathom the behavior of their own kind, then my lack of understanding is inevitable. My investigations here are exhausted. In lieu of a full conclusion, I will settle for storing this accumulated data for future analysis. Let us progress to the next element of the report that you might continue my education. There's more? Sir. Omega, please. Yeah, Omega, that's a bit much, dude. Okay. You're gonna be in Razahan, okay. Okay. So I'm gonna go get a level in Machinist and then I'll come back.